Anything stands for Additive New York Thing Conference, and our idea about running this conference was to try to bring together as much of the world of 3D printing as we could.
Your body scanned.
You know, it comes out of the maker movement. It's a very open community about sharing tricks and how to do this. And I think it's partly because it's like the Wild West out there. I mean, none of this stuff has settled down. It's all changing daily. There's new materials, new machines, new processes that people are inventing. The materials, to me, are the part that are sort of the most fascinating, because you can take, there's actually 7 different 3D printing processes. All of them use a whole different multitude of different materials. And when you start looking at it from a final use point of view, instead of a prototype, suddenly you start discovering all of these wild properties that we didn't even know that were there, just because 3D printing is a very different way of making a product than most standard manufacturing methods.
But for me, because I work in clay, and clay is like really moldable and like, squishable plastic material, the thing that comes out of the printer is just a starting point. And for example, something like this, which was part of a collaboration that I did with my partner, Jessica Brandel, this past summer in Italy. You can see here, this part, which is clearly 3D printed, was a scanned artifact from Pompeii, from a site in Pompeii, something that's 2,000 years old, that was scanned and then 3D printed in Italy with one of these open source 3D printers, and then it was given a new life by completing it, finishing it by hand. So you can see the sort of actual malleability of the clay material, finished this object off and made it usable again. So clay, in some ways, is a really good material to think about in this kind of context, because it provides a continuity in history and a little bit of continuity in workflow process.
It's such a useful tool in both for teaching and anything where you're actually making a real object. A lot of schools have at least 1 or 2 in them by now and are starting to figure out ways of using them.
These are hemoglobin molecules. So this is normal hemoglobin that is supposed to fit together in pieces, and then this is a sickle cell hemoglobin, which is only caused by 1 letter change in your DNA. So this turns into this when you have sickle cell, and the students don't ever see it when you're doing a 2D or even a simulation on the computer. So I printed them out because now you can touch them, you can feel them, you can manipulate them, you can try to fit them together, and it doesn't, and then you can then take that and say, okay, so this is why it's not shaped correctly, this is why it gets stuck in the blood vessels, because it's not the right shape. It's got to be shaped like this, which is more circular and round, and it's going to fit and be able to be squeezed, where this is not.
It's very difficult to visualize these things, and especially in 3D. Everything we have is pictures of things in 2D. So how do you have them visualize that in 3D? 3D printing has really been able to accelerate that. So rather than spending 2 classes trying to explain the process, all I have to do is hold this model up and take it apart and kind of show them layer by layer. It's kind of instant. It's instant when they kind of tie it in and understand it, and they can hold it and take it apart layer by layer and put it back together. The difference is unbelievable. Even I have a better way of explaining it. It's kind of like my teaching aid. So not only does it improve their learning outcome, but it kind of improves the way I teach, because it's more interactive. I'm not lecturing at them. I'm kind of showing them. It's more interactive.
We're in the middle of developing a integrated interdisciplinary minor, which is really half art, half science and engineering, where we're trying to bring students into that from all over the campus. Plus we have a lot of students across the campus that are just playing, or having fun with it by sending in builds. We have whole groups of students in introductory courses, both in art and engineering, using the 3D printers as required elements of courses from the beginning of their freshman year. And so that's really the first stage. Plus, using the MakerBot Innovation Center, we make this open to every student on the campus. And one of my real obsessions, since I'm Dean of the School of Science and Engineering, are seeing students who come in who should be able to make it in science and engineering, but their math skills are weak. And one of the things that I think has happened in the New York State educational system is that we've taken a lot of math out of the science courses until you get to like a physics class near the end of high school. And Math courses are great, but you really need to see it applied in different areas to be able to make it sink in and understand how to use it. 3D printing and the CAD design skills that you really need to know to be able to use it, it's really easy to work a whole bunch of math into that. And I think, if we think about how to teach this stuff, and we can talk about units and dimensions, there's a lot of geometry, there's angle constraints about the 3D printing, and these are all things that are just part of learning how to use it and learning what you can print and what the restrictions on it are. I think while teaching them a really cool technique and how to make neat things with it, we can also teach them math, which is just an absolutely essential skill for anything in science and engineering, as well as a lot of other fields.